Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. And as promised in our daily financial news this morning, we have special guests coming on at 9 o'clock. We have both Matt and Penny. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing real good. Thanks, Mike.
Excellent. So folks, just so you know, Matt reached out to me, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago. He said, hey, I like what you're doing. I like what you're helping. Could you maybe have a conversation with my wife and I? I said, sure. With one catch, I want to record it so we could share it with the rest of you. So Matt and Penny, what this is going to be about is just you asking questions about investing, maybe a little bit about one rental at a time, but we don't have a script, no series of questions. I will just turn it over to you and we will see where this thing goes. Is that cool?
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
All right.
I'll give you just a little bit of background, Mike, just so, because I know that you wanted to record this in order to maybe possibly, help some other people if they have similar questions or find themselves in similar situations. So just a little bit of background. We are in our mid we're in our mid 40s, single income family. I'm a software developer. My wife is a homemaker, so she's got a full-time job as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay a salary, right, directly. So I don't have a 401k. I don't have an IRA. We've got some money in savings. We have some, assets like silver and things like that. But realistically, I'm kind of the guy who I'm 20. So Dion, watching Dion's channel, like I could relate to some of the stuff he was saying. I'm 20 something years out of a divorce and found myself in a similar situation as in Dion, in debt up to my eyeballs, just kind of like, I'm a working stiff, I'm going to work until the day I die. And that's pretty much how I had resolved myself. Okay. And it's amazing. We're just kind of getting to the point in our lives in our mid 40s where it's kind of like, hey, we are starting to experience financial freedom. We have one small debt left. We have a mortgage. Our vehicles are paid off. We don't have a lot of credit card debt or anything like that. Awesome. So we're kind of at a position, and especially at the times we find ourselves in right now in our country, to hopefully be able to set ourselves up for the future financially. And more importantly, I think for probably both of us is we have 2 children, right? And I want to have something to turn over to my children as well. I don't want them to have to struggle and scrape by like we've had to do as well. So,
and just so I know, how old are they? Just so I know where they are in the picture, your children?
Sure. Oldest is 12 and the youngest is 9.
Okay. All right. 12 is like 7th, 8th grade, something like that?
Yeah, he'll be entering 7th grade.
Okay. Just trying to get context, right? So, okay, very cool. All right.
Yep.
So that's a great baseline. Lots of people are, first off, let's just step back and realize that you're in an enviable position. A lot of people that I talk to and interact are, still have a lot of debt, right? So realize that you've done some great work already, right? Getting down to one small debt left and a mortgage. So realize you have accomplished something. Sometimes people get so focused on the future, they don't appreciate what you've accomplished already. So I just want to make sure you recognize that first.
And a word of encouragement for anybody out there, like Dion commented on a video that I commented on one of his videos, and he commented back to me saying, hey, it's going to get easier. And he's absolutely right. It does. It's hard in the moment to not just think like, this is it for me. I'm done. I'm washed up. But it has taken a tremendous amount of hard work and sacrifice, right?
Yeah, that last word is important, sacrifice. That's where most people fall down.
Right, exactly, right? It's like those things that you want to buy, those places you want to go, those things you want to do. And sometimes you just have to say, hey, in a few years, if we buckle down now and we do what we need to do now, that will all be much easier. And we won't have to be stressed out about like, can we go out to eat? Can we take a vacation without racking up more debt, right?
Oh,
so
I lived that world for 15 years. Where we sacrificed, I call them needs versus wants, right? We always took care of the needs, took care of the kids' needs. The kids got some of the wants also, not all of them, but some. But Olivia and I mean, for 15 years, just no. Yeah. So I know exactly what you speak of.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that background. That's awesome.
Yes, sir. So here's kind of where it came down to. Like, I've known that I have felt for a long time that if I ever was going to have any type of assets, so it's assets, right? Like that's what I want. I want assets, something that's going to provide me passive income long term. Yep. I'm not the person those things, but for me, the idea of fixing up places and flipping them and all that stuff, I don't want that. I want to buy and hold real estate. And so, I listened to like you know, Robert Kiyosaki, and there's just so many. I got a pop up that said my internet connection was struggling a little bit there. So
Okay.
there's so many people out
up.
there that have courses and
Mhm.
gotcha. There's so many places out there that have courses and information on sign up for this and we're going to make you a millionaire. And it's just like, man, I'm ignorant when it comes to real estate, right? Like I don't know the process. I don't know the terminology. I worked for several years as a software developer in the financial industry. So I have some, you know, when we start talking about assets and stocks and equity and things like that, I have a basic understanding of a lot of those terms. But when it comes to actual real estate, I know nothing. And so even, you know, I was watching your content and some of the other guys you hang out with and listening to you guys talk, and you're talking about like cash on cash and, you know, all this stuff. And I'm just like, man, and particularly for you, Mike, like you were talking about, you got to know your market. And I'm like, I get it. I understand what you're saying. I need to know my market, but I don't know how to know my market, if that makes sense what I'm saying, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And so I'm like looking at your course and I'm like, okay, it's well within our price, you know, that's $299 is nothing. If this is going to be an investment that, you know, gets us to where we want to be, that's an insignificant amount of money. And I say that I don't mean to trivialize it, because I realize there's probably a lot of people that might be a tremendous amount of money for them, right? For us, we worked ourselves to a position. For us, it's not a big stretch for $299 for what the possibilities could come from that investment, right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the course and I'm like, okay, so am I just going to get in the course, you know, this just things like, well, you got to know your, or am I going to get specific instructions about here is what you need to do in order to know your market? These are the resources. These are the websites. This is the data that you need to tap in order to answer these questions about your market so that you can move forward, right? So that was one of the big things that I had before. I was like, before I can make this investment, I need to talk to Mike about that.
Perfect. So, so is my sound coming through okay? You can hear me without breaking up, just so I understand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
it
cool.
is.
Awesome. So what I would tell you, I love how we're doing this, right? Because a lot of people are like, hey, you know, I get his stuff on YouTube for free. Why would I spend $300? All of that. So first and foremost, I want to be very clear. If you have the time to go back and watch the thousands of videos I've created, I have probably covered 90% of what is in my course. It's just not organized. It doesn't give you action items. It doesn't give you what I've done, right? So I'm not one of these people that go, I'm going to give you a taste and then, you know, go run to the back of the room and then spend 300. And oh, by the way, then spend $3,000 and then spend 30 grand and all that guru stuff. I built the course because everybody was asking, how'd you do it? Right. I wrote the book called One Rental at a Time. I don't know if you've read that yet or not. Have you?
I think it got delivered. We left town on Friday, and I think it got delivered to our house Friday night. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So what you will, no problem. So what I will tell you, Matt and Penny, what's in the book is not how to. The book is a review of Olivia and I's 15 years of investing, which started in 2002. And it basically, the story ends in 2018 when the book was published, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, basically how did it work out during the crash? How did we survive? All of those things. So I write that book. It does really well. Now people find me on YouTube and like, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? How'd you do it? So that's why I created a course. So what is the course? Step one of the course is you are going to find a buy box. A buy box is a very tight criteria that you create for your market that you can look at every day for 10 to 20 minutes. Is the internet keeping up with us? I know you had an internet warning, so we're doing okay?
Yep, still doing good.
Okay, cool. So the first thing you do is going to create a buy box. So what does that really mean? So I'll give you my example of my buy box from 20 years ago. I chose a market called Fresno, California. It's about 1 million people. It's too big, right? And you got to remember, I was like you. I was working. Not only was I working, but I was traveling the world, right? So I not only worked 60 days, or 60 hours, but then I traveled like 30 hours, right? Which I didn't include in my work schedule. So my buy box was not Fresno. It wasn't even 93703, which is a zip code in Fresno that's referred to as the Mayfair district. That was too big. It was single family homes. So not duplexes, not fourplexes, not apartments, not condos, not mobile homes. And then it wasn't even houses. It was either a 3 or 4 bedroom house, 2 bath, 1 story, between 12 and 1,500 square feet. The first thing you're going to do when you define a buy box is you're going to get focused and specific, what you're going to try to do is generate a list of between 20 and 40 active listings, right? That's your goal, right? If your criteria is too small and you're only getting 8, make it bigger. If your criteria is too loose and you're getting 120, that's too many. I want you between 20 and 40. And that's a number that I think you can go through every day. Then what you're going to do is you're going to look at that search every day for 60 to 90 days. And you're going to document. My students, people in the Facebook group call it the spreadsheet. This came on, this came off, this had a price drop. You're going to start documenting what you are seeing because you are going to become the expert on that buy box, right? So for 3 years, even though the entire market of Fresno was going up, I only looked at that buy box for 3 years, and I became the best at that buy box because that allowed me to understand average. The whole thing about a buy box is you want to understand what an average deal is for that criteria, okay? Once you know average, you as the investor can start to tweak the numbers, your offer price, the make ready costs, all of that, so you can understand the cash on cash, or what I will call yield in the course. Your whole number one question is, you, Matt, if you're going to do the work, you should be able to tell Penny, an average deal in this buy box is 6.5%. Once you get there, and it will take time, it will feel monotonous, but once you get there, 45, 60 days, you'll be able to have that discussion. You'll say 6.5. And Matt, once you've done that, it gets fun. Because then all you have to do is you have to do your work, and you have to find a way to create 7.5s or 8.5s, which will mean higher yield, because you should only do good or great deals. Your first 60 days is all about average. So that's step one. You know, when you go from there, then you'll start also doing things like growing your network. You'll be reading about the market you're in. You'll be doing all of these extra things. But if you're looking for a laundry list of 17 websites that have the magic stuff, not in my course. I don't think that exists. I want you to do focus, daily discipline, grow your network. I want you to understand that yield is the only number that matters. You're going to start talking to contractors because a turnkey versus junk has different cost and cash commitments. It's all about buy and hold. It's all about learning your market. And then, oh, by the way, because the course is so effective, all these other experts have added stuff: house hacking, raising private money, flipping, self-management, all this other stuff. But I only stay in my lane, which is buy and hold. So that's kind of a step one of the course is what you're going to get. You're going to get a buy box. You're going to do work 10 to 20 minutes a day. Probably by week 3 or 4, you're going to be sitting down with Penny and showing her what you've done. And then once a week, you'll be going back and saying, this is the change. This is what changed. That's where it all starts.
Gotcha. So real quick, let me ask you a follow-up question on that then. I appreciate that. It sounds real good. When we start talking about like finding that buy box, and so we're going to need to find properties in that buy box.
Yep.
Sometimes, I'll look at Zillow or Realtor.com or, RealTrack, and there's different listings on all of them. So do you kind of give any direction on like what's the best way to find those properties?
Yeah. What I want you to do in the beginning is I want you to pick one, right? Set up your searches in one.
Gotcha.
Right? Because in the beginning, what am I trying to teach you? I'm trying to teach you to learn the average, right? The first 60 or 90 days is not about buying a deal. It's about building the foundation, which Matt and Penny will learn a market. Buying the deal is later, or actually it's not even buying the deal. Writing a good or great offer comes next. I'm not here to tell you you're going to take this course and write an offer in 30 days. In fact, that would be a mistake, right? Yep. This is about looking. It is the daily discipline. I occasionally, Matt and Penny, have people come back to me and going, well, Michael, you're asking for 20 minutes a day times 7. That's 140 minutes, right? They do the math for me. It's like, I can't do the math. Then they come back to me and go, you know what? Instead of giving you 2 hours, I want to give you 4 hours on Saturday. I'm like, you are not freaking listening to me. This is not a total time commitment to this. If you are only looking on Saturday, Matt, you're failing, right? That's why when you hear Dion or Matt or Anna, they're all talking about deals they got on Tuesday or Thursday, because the market is fluid. If you are not looking at a minimum 6 days a week, you're failing, right? I just want to hammer that home.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense, man. Especially right now, things are shifting so fast.
Yeah,
and again, just like going to the gym, right?
Yeah, it is exactly like going to the gym. You can't go to the gym only on Saturday, do 3 hours, and then be in shape because you eat you eat ice cream and pizza the other 6 days a week. It just doesn't work. Yeah, I get very passionate about this because people always want to push back. Oh my God, I can't do it. Trust me, I was raising a kid, working 60 hours. I could be in Australia, Germany, and Brazil in the same week, and I still did it every day. And that was before smartphones, for goodness sakes. You're going to sign up for a commitment if you take my course.
Yep, I get that, and that's perfect, man. You know, like we've worked this hard this long. I'm not looking for the quick, turnaround. In 30 days, I'm gonna, have a property. I want to make sure that we're doing this right.
Yeah, and just so we're clear on right.
Speaking of doing it right.
Yeah, I want to hit that word right, because again, all I try to do is teach people average, but really what I'm doing, Matt and Penny, is I'm giving you confidence. And once you buy the course and you get in the Facebook group, you'll see people build confidence, right? They'll post. Like there was a post I talked about yesterday on my live stream about a couple who's been doing the work in St. Louis. They live in San Diego. They're doing the work in St. Louis. And he's like, hey, we found this listing. It was on the market for 30 days. It used to only be 14. So the market's slowing down. Oh my God. Came off, went back on, right? So they're tracking, right? They're doing the work as I tell them. It comes off and back on a second time. And they're like, okay, time for us to really dig in. What could we offer? So it was initially listed at 140. It had one price drop to 130. They did the work. And again, based on their buy box, they could only offer 95, right? Again, if you're doing you're going to do the math to tell you what's good or great. Don't believe agents. If it's listed at 130, but it doesn't work for me, write the offer at 95. So this is unfortunately what happened. They did the math at 95. Then their agent said, no, I'm not going to write that up. It's too low, right? The agent's being some kind of gatekeeper. So lo and behold, 2 days later, the property falls off the market. It goes pending again. They do the work. They realize it actually closes. Now they're disappointed, maybe is the right word, but now it gets ugly. They go look up on Zillow what it sold for. It sold for 90. They did the work. They found a motivated seller. They had an opportunity and they missed. So what I told them, and I've told the entire group, is what I'm trying to build is confidence. So you know your numbers. They should have written the offer at 95. Half the time the seller would say no thanks, because that is a big gap, but you never can guess a seller's motivation. So do the work.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you're saying that, man, because I would absolutely say, like, there's a lot of areas in my life where I'm confident, but in real estate, it's definitely not one of those, right? And so I can appreciate that confidence is a game changer, right?
Yeah.
And so for sure, that's one thing I would absolutely be looking
and again, you're going to build the confidence. It needs to be a couple, right? You need to do it together. The most valuable thing that we had in the beginning with Olivia and I is we would talk about this. So I don't, if it just becomes a weekly date night or a Sunday morning breakfast or whatever your thing is, you should be talking about this buy box in your spreadsheet once a week, maybe after the third week, but it should become a conversation, because just you, Matt, if you're doing the work, just you practicing the talk track with Penny and allowing Penny to ask questions, because maybe she's not as intimate, will make you both better, and you'll both be walking down the road or the path together. So don't forget, don't do it in your like little office and never come out. Share, learn, have her ask questions that stump you. It should be a together thing.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure. Hell, I did want to ask a follow-up question, because you said something that made me remember one of the other problems that I was struggling with when I first started looking at your course.
Sure.
And we've kind of resolved this, so it's not so much an issue for us anymore, but I'm going to bring it up just in case there's somebody who watches this, Mike, that has the same problem I had. Mm-hmm. I do not do social media, man. I'm a software developer. I'm on a computer 10, 12, 16 hours a day sometimes. The last thing I want to do is social media. So I don't have Facebook, Twitter, nothing at all.
do.
She does. And so when I first brought that up to her, I said, the only problem is he's got this Facebook group and he's encouraging people that you're going to get a lot of knowledge and information from that Facebook group. I don't do Facebook. And she's like, but I do. And I'm like,
yeah, okay,
yeah, that's true. So what would you say to somebody else out there who's like me, if they don't have a penny that does social media, that might find themselves in the same boat as me?
Yeah, so I have over 2,000 students and just about 1,000 folks in the Facebook group. So a lot of people don't have Facebook or don't choose to do it. It's completely optional. I would say there is a lot of value, because I do a live stream there every Saturday at 9 a.m. Well, I should say every Saturday, most Saturdays at 9 a.m. The interaction from other course members is great, but it's not a requirement. In fact, the Facebook didn't exist for the first year of the course. I only added it to help me. And now the Facebook group is actually probably one of the most valuable things. So absolutely not a requirement. You will be missing something, but in your case, Penny logs in. She says, maybe you share the spreadsheet and then Penny talks about the 5 great posts from the week. It could be a really good harmonization. And then the last thing is there's actually so much value in there. I've had a few people create fake Facebook accounts and just use it for that. So, I mean, you're right. If you don't use Facebook, you're going to be missing some value. There's no question.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, well, those were for sure the questions, the main things that I had about the course specifically. Mm-hmm. And this weekend, we spent all day yesterday on a canoe trip, and so I had a lot of time to contemplate this call this morning. You are obviously keenly aware of the things that are currently going on in our society, in our country. Are we at the right time, the wrong time, in your opinion? I know that you're not giving financial advice. What do you think? I mean, are we kind of coming into this at the right time, or have we missed the boat? Or?
Well, there's an old saying, right? The best time to buy a house is 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. What I would tell you, you're not buying today. You're learning today, right? One thing I love about real estate investing is once you learn the skill that I'm trying to teach, is you can use it for the next 40 years. So you've jumped without doing the work, right? There are people that are in hard markets. Like if you were in San Diego, for example, and that's all you wanted to invest in, San Diego's probably peaked for a little while, right? But there are like Boise, Idaho is probably the best example. Boise's just seems to have like so much demand and no supply. There are bubble markets, but again, I'm trying to teach you a skill. You could still learn this if Boise's the market you wanted to be in. You would just learn it's not profitable. And when you read my book, you'll hear something called alligators. Boise's a market full of alligators today. But unless you've done the work, you don't know. And then the beauty of doing this is because we are going into a housing slowdown, which I've called on my channel since 4 months ago. So I'm being proven right, which is kind of cool. But a housing slowdown is the best time to be an investor because owner occupants are our competition. Owner occupants have been outbidding, no contingencies, no inspections. That doesn't work for an investor because I need to hit a yield. And when we have an owner coming in who can get the cheapest financing, the least down, and they're just outpaying me. But now those buyers are going away. They're going to Vegas. They're doing other things. I am now finding motivated sellers. And there's only been a couple of times in my career where motivated sellers were relatively easy to find. And now is one of them, because again, just like that example earlier, if you've watched the market, days on market price drop, and it still doesn't sell, maybe you can buy something at 95 that was listed at 130. That wouldn't have happened last year. That would have sold at 130 because there was no inventory. So, outside of a couple of markets that are very bubbly, I think this is a great time to learn.
Yeah. Cool. That's good. I appreciate that encouragement, man, for sure. That kind of puts things in a proper perspective for me.
Very cool.
What else? Can you?
I want to ask Penny. Yeah. Does Penny have any questions?
I do not. I'm just here to listen and learn.
Yeah. Well, one of the things
it's interesting, Mike, because I think.
Go ahead.
I think probably, what you were describing earlier, with me doing your scenario where I'm doing a lot of the lead work and making sure that I share with her, I think we might find ourselves in that opposite role. While I'm heads down coding, she's going to be spending that 20 minutes a day trying to do the research on property. So I think that's probably how we'll end up, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, Penny, so what you would probably end up doing in the beginning is having that buy box that I talked about, right? Zip code, all of that. You'll be looking at it. In the course is my spreadsheet. Since you do have Facebook, you can go to Facebook and see what others are building. Just ask, they freely share theirs. And then you'll just be documenting changes, dates that happen, because all you're trying to do is build a history that then you could learn from, right? If it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, the highest it sold for was 120, the lowest was 111. Then you're going to call and figure out, what does a 2-bedroom rent for? In this area, it's 1,700, and that one is 1,850. So you're going to be spending 60 to 90 days kind of collecting data, given you do have Facebook, you should also be interacting on Facebook. There's, as you see when you log in, there's a lot of great collaboration. So just ask questions, right? That's the safe place. And the only people in that Facebook group are students. So they all speak the same vocabulary: alligators, yield, cash on cash, all that stuff. So no, if you haven't bought the course, you get denied. I get asked 10 times a day. I deny everybody who hasn't, because I want to keep it a safe place.
Yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate that for sure.
Cool.
Brother, I think that's all we had, Mike. I appreciate your time very much and being willing to talk to us, man. That was and for anybody else that hears this, I just took a shot, posted into the course, your website saying, hey, would you be willing to talk to me? And you responded. I told my family, you responded like within 5 minutes. And I was like, holy crap, this guy's actually going to talk to us. So
yeah, I carry this thing with me all the time.
Yeah. For somebody who has a footprint and a presence like you do, to be willing to just have a conversation with people like us that are pretty much nobodies, I can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
I appreciate it. And again, I'll be honest, the only reason I said yes is because you allowed me to record it. That allows me to help other people, right? So the fact that you said yes to recording it is very helpful, and I'm happy to do it. It's fun helping people, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mike, we appreciate it, brother.
All right, take care of yourself. Enjoy your Sunday. Bye.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Yep.